question is coming from Gabriella in Minnesota. You're up with John.
Hi, John. Well, I typed something in the chat, but I did have another question that came up. So if we have time, I'll see if you could get to both. So my first question,
fire away.
well, I read your book, by the way. My love language is gifting. I love gifting. I've implemented a gifting strategy at my company this year, and we've seen some really positive ROR from that. So I'm very excited to be here today. Quick question from you.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Is it expected to want to receive an acknowledgement of the gift? Now, I've given a lot of gifts to clients and prospects. Some have acknowledged and sent a thank you. Others don't. I grew up with a very, the mentality of if somebody gives you a gift, you send them a thank you, you acknowledge it. So somewhere deep inside my little childhood me is saying, I didn't get a thank you from this person. Is that, should I just throw that out the window? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural desire to want to know, did they even get it? You know, did it land? Did it not land? What I would say is expectation ruins a lot of things in relationships, not just with gifting. Because if there's an expectation, then we're wanting something back from it, whether it's the thank you note, whether it's words of affirmation, all of those things are and expectations. I would say, even though you want them, I would fight the urge and realize, when somebody gets something really thoughtful, their intent might be to write a handwritten thank you note, but maybe their parents are in the hospital, or maybe their kid's sick, or maybe their husband lost their job. There's 1,000 reasons why they might not give you the thank you note back, or a text back, or whatever. What we do try to do when we're on the agency side, we will try to confirm that the package at least arrived, and we'll send a note saying, hey, a package was shipped, just want to make sure that it arrived. Because we have had times where like we've done some pretty crazy gifts and they got stolen off the porch, you know, $500 gifts, $5,000. We did a gift for Dean Graziosi. It was like a $6,000 gift and they got stolen. So we had to replace it. So I think that, but removing, it gets really fun to be able to gift if you remove expectation of even the thank you note, because then it's like, you're not keeping score. You're not worried about it. You want to track to make sure that it landed at least. But even then, like, I wouldn't say like, hey, did you get my gift? Oftentimes we'll send an email for the client saying, hey, a package. That way we're not setting expectations, because otherwise you're basically putting gift guilt on the person of saying, I want this back. You better. And oftentimes people will give that to you, but internally they're thinking, that felt icky. Like I knew it wasn't just a gift. There was some expectation behind it. So as much as I have to fight it because I'm a human being and you are too, I would say the more you can not put any expectation, because they might not have been raised the same way you were, with the expectation of the handwritten note, which is appropriate from an etiquette perspective. But I think that the more you can disassociate that and say, I'm going to be generous, I'm going to be thoughtful, and I know I'm going to do it 100 times. And sometimes I'm just not going to get the feedback that I want. And what I've also found, I just had a call with a huge insurance executive recently, or actually this morning. We sent a gift 3 years ago. I forgot. And he's like, and he never sent anything to let me know he got it. He's like, I use the thing every day. Mm-hmm. Why we're having the conversation. He runs a huge organization. It landed. He never sent a thank you, but I was top of mind, or in the back of his mind subconsciously, for a long time, even though I never got the feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the second question?
Second question is, what are some of your tips and strategies that you would recommend for individuals to start strategies on figuring out what is the best gift to give? You know, I think that we have a practice of giving new clients that sign with our agency a welcome gift. And up until recently, you know, it did have some of our company swag, simply because after the signing of a statement of work, you know, SOW, we don't necessarily have enough information to personalize each gift for each of our clients.
Yeah.
So curious on what strategies you would recommend that we can really how can we figure out what to give? What are some strategies? What are some tools? What are some ideas, ways to think about being very personalized?
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts. One is, I think an onboarding gift is fine. At some point that can kind of be table stakes. I would figure out what's the 6-month gift or the 12-month gift, because those are more unusual. I want to show up at unexpected times, no anniversaries, no birthdays, no Christmas, no transactional times. Or if they are transactional, like I realize like that's not going to have the same impact as showing up for somebody on month 4 or month 8 out of the blue. Not because they did anything for me, just because. From a personalization perspective, I mean, we try to find what we call practical luxuries, things that people would never buy for themselves that we can personalize. And I could give the same thing to 10,000 people, but based upon the handwritten note, their name being on it, the timing of it, it lands in a way that feels like it feels very personalized. Great example is, people will do watches and different things. And I'm like, you're going to send a $200 watch to somebody wearing a $2,000 watch that doesn't work very well. It's going to get regifted. But if you take and send somebody an $80 luggage tag, most people have an 80-cent luggage tag, maybe a $1.80 luggage tag. You send them an $80 one. Most people travel at some point, and one that's made out of brass and leather and has their name and their spouse's name, family name, their home address. There's certain things that you could like that will have more value than a $500 watch because it's so nice. It's a little detail that people will use, and it costs less than what you might think about doing. And you're going all in on this best in class item that is pretty universal. So I like to find the little things it's frankly why the knives work. It's why we do these mugs that are now a couple grand. I see people that respond better to the mug than they do to a $20,000 watch. Why? Because most people have a $6 mug, and you send one to somebody that has their whole life story carved into it. It's like now most people drink coffee or tea. It's pretty universal. Now every day they're using this piece that's an artifact that, it's called an artifact mug. It reminds them of their life, their why, their core values, all that sort of thing. And so I think that finding things that are common amongst human beings, amongst humanity, allow you to send something to somebody. And the guy this morning, he's like, how'd you know I like to grill and barbecue? I'm like, I didn't, but you're a human being. So you probably eat at home, you entertain, you host, you're a foodie, you have a family, like you hit in common hot buttons, that are universal amongst humans, and you're going all in on these little details. So you guys want more on kind of like our thought process and roadmap on how we think of things, you can go to giftologysystem.com. It's the same download and formula that we take the Chicago Cubs through. It's also solopreneurs. It talks about how to think about gifts, how to think about best in class, how to think about what the budget, all of those things are all there. And there's, if we do it with a client, we charge tens of thousands of dollars, but you guys can go download the entire playbook and do it on your own and start to roadmap out what you're going to do for these clients or centers of influence or employees or whoever you're going to appreciate.